Hello and welcome, dear students, to our series Grammar in Use. In this lesson, we are going to explore short questions which are quite different to question tags. Let us dive into it. You are requested to get a pen and notepad ready so that you are with us taking down the pointers and working on the examples with us. Let us proceed. Short questions, and what are they? Short questions are a way of showing interest during some conversation. They are used to keep the conversation going rather than to ask for new information. It is actually, you must have heard people saying, is it really? Well, these are the kind of ways where people tend to be a part of the conversation, but they have no intentions to ask anything, just to show that they are, yes, they are there listening to you and they are interested in the conversation. So let us see the first pointer regarding short questions. Short questions must be in the same tense as the statement they are responding to. If the statement is positive, the short question should be positive, and vice versa. Vice versa means if the statement is negative, the question should also be negative. Now, this does not comply. This has got nothing to do with those question tags that we have studied earlier. I'll be establishing the difference just in a moment. The subject from the statement is replaced by the relevant pronoun. That means the subject is replaced by the uh, pronoun it should take. For example, it is Tom's birthday today. Is it? It is just for confirmation or agreeing to that it is Tom's birthday. For statements using be form, that is, are, was, were, has, have, had, do, did, does, the short question uses the same form of be. That means if you see is used in the statement, you have to use is. If you see are used in the statement, you have to use are. Let us see the next example. I play golf every weekend. I play golf every weekend. Do you? Now, do is brought in because there is no such auxiliary over there. For other verbs, a form of do is used. For example, if there's nothing, no auxiliary, then you bring in do. And how do we do this? Assume that you are asking a question to someone. Do you like it this? Do you like that? So with that nature, you should be sure of using do, not did, not does, which is for the third person. Let us see the difference and how it established the difference, establishing the difference between question tags for inviting agreement versus question tags for short replies, or question tags for or short questions. Now, if you have seen the previous video where I have discussed question tags, I have brought one example over here. The music is very loud, and the same person is saying, isn't it? Now, in this, you can see the rule that a positive sentence is given, a positive statement is given, affirmative statement is given, and the question is negative. Now, over here, this full statement is, or the question, or it is spoken by the same person. The same speaker is using the question tag. So that is why there is a negative positive rule which is to be followed, and this was discussed in our previous video. In this video, we are discussing that the short question is asked by the listener to keep the conversation flowing or the conversation going. You can see two different people are talking, and here no negative positive rule is followed. If the statement is positive, the person is posing a positive question. If the statement is negative, the person is posing with a negative. The auxiliary agrees with the subject. Where do I bring this word are? You can see that with you the word are goes. You are you. So that is how this selection has taken place. We will be exploring this example shortly. This example is here. I am going to visit my parents next week. Are you? It is just like saying, are you going to visit your parents next week? Are you? That is how only the short question is posed. I am becomes are you because it is directed back at the speaker who spoke that statement. Next example that we have is Rob wasn't in the office this morning. Now wasn't is used over here. Wasn't he? The same negative is used for posing the question. So over here it is the same auxiliary that is used. The negative is used to match the negative statement. I went to a party last night. Now, I went is just simple past used over here. So, what do you do? There is no auxiliary, there's nothing to help and support you. How do you know what question to ask? Now, if you want to pose a question back at the person, I went to the party last night. You want to pose a question, did you go? Now, did you go is a complete question. So, best is to drop the extra word go and ask, did you? To be a part of the conversation. The past simple of do is used to match went, which is the past simple of go. In order to indulge in in order to avoid this grammatical understanding of the grammatical rule, the best is to form a question, a complete question, which naturally comes to you, did you go? And drop the extra part of the question, did you? My son studies every night. And if you want to be a part of the conversation, you can say, if you don't know whether to say did he, does he, do he, or something, well, how, if you do not very sure, try framing the entire question. Does he study every night as a question? My son studies every night will be a very normal question. Now, if the person is saying, my son studies every night, he's boasting, you can definitely be a part of the question conversation by saying, does he really study at night or every night? Does he? The third person from does is used to match the studies. Does he study? So you can drop the extra from there and say, does he? Let us proceed to the next pointer. The next pointer regarding short questions are with auxiliary verbs. Auxiliaries, as mentioned, there are 11 in number. Am, is, are, was, were, do, did, does, has, have, had. Now over here we are using the auxiliary have. If a statement contains an auxiliary verb, including modal verbs, modals are should, could, etc. That auxiliary verb is repeated in the short question. Now over here, the statement that is before us is, I have just come back from Hawaii. Now over here, the word have is there. Now let us see how to pose the question. Auxiliary is have, and you're talking back to the person who's in front of you. So second person pronoun is to be used. Have you? That's the question, and the question is over. Here, have is an auxiliary verb forming the present perfect. If you don't understand present perfect, all you need to remember is that take have from the sentence and say it back or pose it back to the person who is in front of you. The person who's in front of you will be you. That means you will be using you for the pronoun. So have you, and that is the question, and it is constructed. Now let us see regarding auxiliary. The modal was also mentioned in that rule. Let us just see the rule. Modals were also used. Modal verbs, that auxiliary is repeated. So modal is also repeated. In the example, we will have modals also. I couldn't wait to come to work today. Couldn't. So couldn't, and you're talking back to the person. You. I becomes you. Couldn't you? The train should be here by now. Should, and for an object you use the word it. Should it? I have. This have is contracted, so it will become I have. I have. I have been working since 7 a.m. I have. So this have will be the question tag over here. Have you? I can't find my car keys. Can't. Can't is the modal used over here. Can't. And you're talking back to the person. So can't you? The next pointer that we have is short questions in US English. Now be very mindful that all that we have learned so far In US English, there are no such standard rules to questions. Only it is based on conversation and intonation. Intonation means rise and fall of the voice. So in US English, short questions are sometimes not inverted. That means instead of saying can't he, shouldn't he, etc., instead of that, flat sentence, half the sentence is mentioned with the question mark, and it is used for talking purpose only. So that is conversational English. Example: Roger is starting a new job tomorrow. He is, and it is a question, supposed to be a question. The subject and verb are not inverted, but this is said with a rising intonation. He is. My team didn't win the game last night. They didn't. And this is the way a question is asked in US English. But in UK English, it is unacceptable. So please be mindful when you're either writing a dialogue or you are into your speaking assessment, you are appearing for your speaking assessment. Try framing questions as expected of you. Do not use this kind of flat sentence with intonation expecting it to be understood as a question. With this, we have come to the end of the lesson. Thank you very much. If you like the lesson, click on like, share and subscribe. And thank you very much for your kind attention.